Well, I'm actually getting ready to start a C.S. Lewis Institute in our church, and it'll be kind of a book club whereby I'm going to invite the flock, and people in the community can be a part of it, but it'll be during the week, and I'm just going to be walking through the life of Lewis and the works of Lewis, and it will be an opportunity for people to become familiarized with him. Some of the stuff that's great about Lewis, he is for all the age ranges, right? He's written children's books with Narnia and his space trilogy. Narnia was the greatest selling children's book series out before J.K. Rowling's book trumped it.
Wow.
And so Harry Potter has taken the front on that, but the amount of books that Lewis's work has sold is unprecedented. He was born in Belfast, Ireland. He's actually an Irishman in 1898, and he actually died in Oxford, England on the same exact day that President Kennedy was assassinated on November 22nd, 1963. And his death was kind of in the background because of the attention that was given to Kennedy's assassination. But today, due to movies being put out on Narnia, due to his books, due to all the different types of organizations related to the life of C.S. Lewis, his influence is even more significant. He grew up in a way that he knew pain, lost his mother at the age of 9. His father was demoralized, checked out, and Lewis was left with his brother Warnie. And C.S. Lewis, Clive Staples Lewis, his nickname was Jack, and that's whom he was affectionately referred to as. And he basically had some incredibly wise tutors in his life. He would accumulate learning several languages, about 8 or 9 languages that he would become fluent in. Just an amazing mind that he had. He would write so fast. His brain was just a factory of producing words. In fact, he would write so fast and so well that he hardly had to do drafts over his writings. But his journey is a story of moving from atheism to theism to Christianity. And so he moves from atheism and then he moves to theism. And while he's teaching as a professor at Oxford and then later in his career at Cambridge, but while at Oxford, he built a relationship with J.R.R. Tolkien. And so he was part of the Inklings, a group that would meet at the pub, the Eagle and Child, and they would talk about their future works that they were working on. And so Tolkien would talk about Lord of the Rings, and Lewis would talk about his space trilogy. And it was just such great bonding times for them. But when Lewis ended up believing in theism, he said he's the most reluctant convert in all of England. And his salvation story is one in which he was riding on the sidecar of his brother Warnie's motorcycle, and they were on their way to the zoo. He'd been reflecting on Christianity for quite some time. And as he was on the way to the zoo, his conversion story is one that goes like this. When I got in my brother's sidecar on the way to the zoo, I wasn't a Christian. And when I arrived at the zoo, I was. And it's such a great story of a life being transformed. And so, after becoming a Christian, he would just absolutely become this great apologist. Now, keep in mind, what a task that is to become considered the greatest apologist of the 20th century, but your first role is an English lit professor. He would even acknowledge, I'm just a layman in this stuff, but he blew people away with his skill to write. And so what are some reasons that I would say that people should read Lewis? Well, as I said, if you're parents, he is a great author to introduce your kids to, as you can read your kids his Narnia, which is a 7-volume series, children's series, and his space trilogy, which is 3 volumes. And this will open the imagination up of your children. And so I think that he is somebody that you can appreciate as a family. You can be reading books as an adult that he's written, but you could be talking about books that he's written for your kids, and he can become a family friend. I think his creativity is second to none. Nobody illustrates, in my opinion, better than C.S. Lewis. In fact, there's a part of me that wants to, rebel against the C.S. Lewis fan club, but I can't, and I understand why, because his writing is just so beautiful. His tone in which he writes is fascinating, because when he's writing, he's writing and he's taking you on a journey with them. And it's fascinating because he'll say things like, he's writing, and as he's writing along, he'll have a change of mind. He go, well, on second thought, I take that back and let me word it like this. And so, I mean, if he was really just editing all that stuff out, but you're a part of his process. I think that he deals with issues that are very relevant to today. I mean, he deals with morals, he deals with marriage, he deals with right and wrong, he deals with how to, ground morality. He deals with the importance of education and the problems with relativism. So when you're tracking the works of Lewis, you're dealing with somebody who's dealt with issues that are still all too common for us today. And finally, I just think he provides a great pattern for what it looks like to write, to reach people who are interested in Christianity. He's totally bereft of Christianese. He thinks of ways to absolutely illustrate so that people can see the Christian story, perhaps through an illustration that they never thought of. And honestly, I'm just scratching the surface, but I'll stop with that.